All right, Team Impact, we are back. It is Wednesday, November 6th. We're going to get back into the packet here. We're going to grind this thing out and looking at a test next week over ratios. So let's get into it here today. Let me see if this light helps. Not really. So anyway, hey, we're going to talk more about ratios, and we're going to be writing equations today and doing some graphing. Good stuff. The value of a ratio represents the relationship between two quantities and can be written as an equation. Okay? An equation is just two equal sides to an equal sign, and you'll see here in just a minute what we mean. All right, the process column describes what's happening, okay? And the problem it can be used to it. So we talk about a process. How are we getting from here to there, essentially, right? And we have to find the pattern, right? And when we look for the pattern here, we clearly can see, all right, from 0 to 0, all right? I don't see a pattern there, right? But I think it's going to be multiplication. But to get from here to here, it's times 9, times 9, times 9. So clearly it's going to be times 9. 0 times 9, 1 times 9, 3 times 9, 6 times 9, and 8 times 9, right? So that is going to be our process, our rule, our function rule, right? We're going to multiply this number times 9. And we have another name for this number. We're going to call this x and this y. All right, so x is the hours worked. Y is the money earned. And the description is x is multiplied by 9. Now we come to our equation. How can we show this mathematically instead of using words, right? Well, we can write this a couple different ways. All right, we can start by saying 9 times x, or 9x, equals y, right? 9 times any number in this column will give us y, or usually we're going to start with the letter y equals 9x. All right, and the number before the variable is called the coefficient. So we don't put a dot, we don't certainly put an x there, all right, because that is another variable, all right? We just want to show 9x. That means 9 times a number gives us that. Okay, so let's continue on. Peter is training for a bike race and can cycle 20 miles in 1 hour. Describe the process. Well, the process is simple, right? He can go from 20 miles in 1 hour, all right? So the process to me is going to be the number of hours cycling is multiplied by 20. Multiplied by 20. So to get from x to y, we're going to multiply it by 20. 0 times 20 is 0. 1 times 20 is 20. 2 times 20 is 40. 3 times 20 is 60. 4 times 20 is 80. Oops, you can't see all that, can you? I apologize. Okay. And then we write our function rule, all right? We write our function rule, all right? So our function rule is going to be, all right, to get from x to y. Oh, but wait a second. They gave us different letters to use. So when they give us different letters to use, we want to use those letters. M, miles, equals what? 20h. You see what we did there? This has always been x and this has always been y, but sometimes they give us different variables to use, and we should use those, right? You know, this would be the same thing. We could also write this y equals 20x, right? Because traditionally, that is what these two columns are called. Okay? All right, let's continue on here. All right, and then let's just take a peek at our chart. Look, they have an M and a T, so we're going to use those letters and veer away from the X and the Y. All right, but if you put X and Y there, I wouldn't mark that wrong. All right. Tamara is wanting to buy a new TV and saves $8.50 every month. All right, describe the process. Well, we're going to multiply 38.50, all right, by the number of months. By the number of months. By the number of months. So it's going to be 1 times 3850. 3 times 3850. And you'll notice I'm still using a dot. 5 times 3850. 7 times 3850. 9 times 3850. Okay? So then if you would to do this process, all right, you would get your T, or total saved. Okay? So the first one's going to be, of course, 3850. 3 times this is 11550. 5 times is 19250. Okay? And I'm not going to sit here and do the functions with the calculator. Let's finish this up. And the last one is 34650, right? Now, what is our rule? Our rule is T equals, and remember, variables should be lowercase, T equals 3850 M. M, I got my T there, my M, my process, my rule, and there we have it. Okay? I'll let you get caught up there for a second. So not too bad so far, right? Excellent. Let's flip the page, take a peek at the next one. All right, you'll notice on the next one, we also have a function table. All right, we also have a graph. All right, so let's get into this. This is going to be fun. All right, a recipe for oatmeal raisin cookies requires 2 eggs for every 1 dozen cookies. Okay, 2 eggs for every 1 dozen cookies. So 2 eggs, I have 1 dozen there. How can I get from 2 to 1? So if I have 4 eggs, I need what? 2 dozen cookies, right? Now, let's think about this, all right? Let's think about this rule, all right? And let's go ahead and label this X and this Y, because I really don't see any variables there, so let's just stick to our traditional things. So how can we get from 2 to 1? Well, we could subtract 1, certainly, but if I subtract 1 here, I don't get 2, I get 3. So generally, our function rule is going to be multiplication or division, and we can get there 2 different ways, right? We can take, all right, we can take this 2, all right, and we can multiply it by a half, right? So we can take 2 and we can multiply it by a half. And if I take 2 times a half of 2 is 1. Or another way to get there is I could take 2 and multiply it by 5/10, which is a half, all right? But I like a half, and I'm just going to go ahead and write that function rule in. So this is going to be 4 times a half, and I should have used a dot, and I didn't right there. That should be a dot, so let me get rid of that. And I'm going to take 6 times a half, 8 times a half, 10 times a half, 12 times a half, 14 times a half, right? And now I'm just going to fill in my y column. Y equals half of 6 is 3, half of 8 is 4, half of 10 is 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Now, what is our equation? They have our little equation box up here, okay? Well, y equals what? A half x. A half of any of these numbers will give us the number over there, okay? Now, we're 3/4 of the way done, or 2/3, however you want to look at it. All right, now we have to fill in, all right, our processes. We have our number of eggs, which is here, and we have our dozens of cookies. So if I have 2 eggs, I have 1 dozen cookies, right? 2 to 1. If I have 4 eggs, I have 2 dozen cookies. If I have 6 eggs, I have 3 dozen. 8 eggs, all right, and down the line, what do we have here? 10 eggs, all right, 10 eggs would be what? 5 dozen, and so on. And what are you going to notice? you're going to notice that all of these fall on a line, all right? We call this a linear function here, right? So if we look at it, it looks like that. So no matter what number you give me for x, or in the first column, it will fit in there. So let's just look at 3. Half of 3 is 1.5, and there it is. Half of 9 is what? 4.5, and there it is. So we see that all of our values fall on that line. Next up. Bum, bum, bum. Joey pays his cell phone bill. Oh, pays his cell phone company. Cell Singular $30 each month for service. Well, this one's pretty easy. All right, they're giving us this, they're giving us this, right? I'm going to call this X and this Y. All right, so 1 month, all right, we're paying $30, right? 2 months, we're paying $60. 3 months, oops, paying $90. 4 months, we're paying $120. 5 months, we're paying $150. Okay? So what is our equation? Right? If this is x and this is y, y equals 30x. 30 times any number gives us that. And let's go ahead and do some graphing now. Okay? 1 to 30. Okay? 2 to 60. 3 to 90. Right? And you're going to see about 4. 4 to 120. Is it linear? Absolutely. 5 to 150. And if we look at it, there it is, and there it is. Okay. Now, we also have a thing called ordered pairs, and really what these are ordered pairs. So let's take this to the next level. So the ordered pair for this one is 1 and 30, right? 1, 30. The next one is 2 and 60. The next one would be 3 and 90. 4 and 120. So we're starting to graph on the coordinate plane, and when we do this graphing, this is actually the first quadrant of the ordered of the coordinate plane. Excuse me, and there you have it. Okay. So pretty good stuff today. If you flip the page, this is your homework right here. Get it done. Have a good day, guys.